Are you feeling trapped by debt? Like every paycheck is spoken for before it even hits your account? You're not alone. Millions of people are struggling with this same burden, but here's what many don't realize. The Bible contains powerful, time-tested wisdom that can lead you to financial freedom. These aren't just ancient suggestions, they're proven principles that have guided generations to financial wisdom. And the best part? They work just as effectively today as they did thousands of years ago. In fact, many modern financial experts are just rediscovering what Scripture has taught all along. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share 8 biblical principles that can transform your relationship with money and set you on the path to debt freedom. These aren't quick fixes or get-rich-quick schemes. Instead, they're God's timeless truths that, when applied consistently, can help you break free from the chains of debt and experience true financial peace. The borrower is slave to the lender. This foundational truth sets our first principle. Debt creates bondage. In biblical times, when someone couldn't pay their debts, they often became servants to their creditors. Today, while we don't have physical slavery, debt still chains us to our lenders through interest payments and financial obligations. Joseph's wisdom in Egypt demonstrates this principle perfectly. During 7 years of abundance, he avoided debt by saving, allowing Egypt to remain free and independent during the 7 years of famine. Meanwhile, other nations became enslaved to Egypt because they had to borrow to survive. Today, this means being strategic about avoiding unnecessary debt. While some debt might be unavoidable in our modern world, like a modest mortgage or essential business loan, we should approach all debt with extreme caution. Consider David and Nancy, a young couple who decided to save for 3 years before buying their first home, allowing them to make a larger down payment and take on significantly less debt. This decision meant living in a small apartment longer than they wanted, but it ultimately gave them much more financial freedom. Give to everyone what you owe them. This principle teaches us about prioritizing our financial obligations and maintaining integrity in our payments. King Solomon's wisdom shows us that failing to pay what we owe damages not just our finances, but our testimony and relationships. Consider the example of King Solomon's massive building projects. Despite their scale, he always ensured workers and suppliers were paid fairly and on time. This built trust and enabled him to accomplish even greater projects through strong relationships. In practice today, this means creating a clear repayment plan and sticking to it religiously. Start with listing all debts, arranging them by either highest interest rate or smallest balance, and committing to consistent payments. Many successful debt-free journeys began with this simple step of organizing and prioritizing debt payments. The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. This principle teaches us about the importance of building an emergency fund before accelerating debt payoff. The biblical concept of storing up during good times to prepare for difficult seasons is crucial for breaking the debt cycle. Look at how Ruth gathered excess grain during the harvest season. This surplus helped her and Naomi survive during leaner times without falling into debt. Her diligence in gathering what others left behind shows us the importance of being thorough in our financial planning. Modern application means setting aside even small amounts consistently. Start with a goal of $1,000 for emergencies, then build toward 3 to 6 months of expenses. This prevents new debt when unexpected costs arise. Take Marcus, who saved $25 weekly from his part-time job. Within a year, he had enough saved to cover a major car repair without using his credit card. Steady plodding brings prosperity. This principle emphasizes the importance of creating and sticking to a budget. It's not about making drastic changes overnight, but about consistent, intentional management of our resources. Consider Daniel's disciplined approach to life in Babylon. He maintained his convictions through daily, consistent choices. This same principle applies to our financial lives. Small daily decisions add up to significant results over time. In today's world, this means tracking every expense and making intentional spending decisions. Sarah, a school teacher, started by simply tracking her spending for a month. She was shocked to find she was spending $200 monthly on coffee shops. By making coffee at home and bringing lunch to work, she freed up $300 monthly to put toward debt repayment. Seek wise counsel. This principle reminds us that we don't have to figure everything out alone. In biblical times, kings and leaders surrounded themselves with wise counselors before making important decisions. Moses demonstrated this wisdom when he accepted his father-in-law Jethro's advice about delegating responsibilities. This humility to accept guidance led to better outcomes for everyone involved. Today, this might mean working with a financial advisor, attending money management classes at your church, or finding a mentor who has successfully become debt-free. John and Maria were struggling with $45,000 in debt until they joined a financial management group at their church. The accountability and wisdom they received helped them create a realistic plan and stay motivated throughout their debt-free journey. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." So we say with confidence, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?" This extended passage reveals a profound truth. Our journey to debt freedom isn't just about money management. It's about finding contentment and trusting in God's provision. Consider the Israelites in the wilderness. When they gathered manna, those who collected much didn't have too much, and those who gathered little didn't have too little. Each had exactly what they needed. This powerful example teaches us about trusting God's provision while being content with our current circumstances. A modern example is Lisa, an executive who seemed successful on paper but was drowning in debt from trying to maintain an image. After meditating on this principle, she downsized her lifestyle dramatically. Though her colleagues questioned her choices, she found incredible peace and financial freedom in living below her means, allowing her to eliminate $87,000 of debt in just 2 years. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This principle challenges us to examine our motivations behind debt and spending, pushing us to consider eternal value over temporary satisfaction. King Hezekiah provides an interesting case study. After showing all his treasures to Babylonian envoys, Isaiah prophesied that everything would eventually be carried off to Babylon. This sobering account reminds us that material wealth is temporary, and our focus should be on lasting spiritual investments. Consider Thomas, a small business owner who was caught in the cycle of constantly upgrading his lifestyle with debt. After studying this principle, he realized he was chasing status rather than significance. He redirected his resources, choosing to invest in his employees' development and local community initiatives while aggressively paying down his business debt. This shift not only improved his financial situation, but created lasting impact in his community. Let no debt remain outstanding, except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. This final principle ties everything together by showing us that financial freedom isn't just about personal gain. It's about being positioned to love and serve others effectively. The early church in Acts demonstrates this beautifully. Their approach to resources wasn't individualistic. They ensured no one among them was in need. This community-minded approach to finances created a powerful testimony of God's provision and care. Today, this principle is exemplified by people like Robert and Anna, who after becoming debt-free were able to open their home to foster children and support missionaries, something their previous debt burden had prevented. Their story shows how debt freedom enables us to respond to God's calling without financial constraints. These 8 principles form a comprehensive approach to debt freedom that honors God and serves others. They aren't just financial strategies. They're pathways to spiritual and financial liberation. Remember, the goal isn't just to be debt-free, but to be free to serve God and others with our resources. What step will you take today toward debt freedom? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more biblical wisdom on managing your finances. Together, we can build a community committed to financial freedom and kingdom impact.